Hello everyone, a very good evening and welcome to this live session by TalentSprint. As you all must be aware, we are conducting this live session to discuss about the advanced program in FinTech and financial blockchain, which is jointly brought to you by TalentSprint and IIM Calcutta. And the objective of doing this session is to understand why this program in FinTech and financial blockchain is a doorway for a bright FinTech career for all of you out there. And I have Sridhar from TalentSprint who will join me in this session today to discuss more about this program, right, and what all opportunities it will bring in. How can it be a gateway for you to launch your career in fintech or to lay a fintech blueprint for your organization that you're already working for. So, welcome Sridhar. Thank you for giving us your time today.
Thanks, Rohit. Nice meeting you here, and
Yeah.
welcome everyone. Nice to have all of you in the session today.
Yeah. So for the benefit of all of you, let me tell you that Sridhar has been the man who's behind a lot of successful programs, or in fact all the successful programs that we have at TalentSprint, and more so for all the deep tech programs that we have launched over the last few years. So I have a few questions for you, Sridhar, and I'm sure our participants there also have a lot of questions that they want to clarify. So please feel free to keep posting your questions to the chat, and we will take it up in a while from now. But before we get to their questions, either I would want to understand a little about, for the benefit of participants. Of course, I am also from TalentSprint, so I know what TalentSprint is all into. But something about TalentSprint and why did we launch this program in fintech? Why fintech?
Okay, so let me just start with a little bigger picture. TalentSprint is a 10-year-old organization. We have been focusing largely on deep tech education for the both young and working professionals. When we started the company, we were largely focusing on the fresher area. But last 2 years has been extremely exciting, right? That's when we entered the executive education side, and the 2 years have seen a very, very interesting development in TalentSprint. I think it has nothing to do just with TalentSprint. It's what the market is going through. I think for the first time in the last 50 years, where we have been looking at how the industry is changing. The industry is changing extremely fast. New and disruptive technologies are coming up faster than ever before. Adoption to new technology by consumers are faster than what enterprises can handle, right? Today, I'm sure a young child can expect a lot of things on the mobile, which I'm sure many companies are yet to really get ready for in terms of servicing. So, last 2 years has been extremely exciting because we started focusing largely on disruptive technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, fintech, and programs on cybersecurity and areas which are completely changing the business in the current scenario. And these products were offered to people who have industry experience. And the first program was 2 years back, where we started an artificial intelligence program with a large institution called IIIT Hyderabad, International Institute of Information Technology, Hyderabad. They are one of the largest AI research labs in the country. That's the starting point, and from there, we added a blockchain program with them again. FinTech was started with IIM Calcutta. Then we have cybersecurity program with IIT Kanpur. So these are the programs that we are currently doing. And in addition to that, we also work with global corporations like Google. We do women engineers, specifically on freshers who are looking to become world-class women engineers. Okay. Similarly, we will do a program with Pegasystems, which is again US-based company, billion-dollar revenue company, which is focusing on let's say low-code platform, which we call digital process automation. So it's pretty exciting journey for the last 10 years and 2 years in specific. The deep tech programs, as I said in the beginning, are becoming a necessity for people in the early mid part of their career, right? Earlier it was easy for someone to enter into a company, work there for 30 years, things would change a bit over a period of time and retire. That's gone now, right? The financial sector is probably one area where the adoption of technology is the fastest.
Right.
In fact, I'm sure you would have seen Bill Gates' quote saying that we know all people need banking, but they don't need banks. Right?
And I can only imagine a few years down the line, maybe 5-10 years down the line, you're just talking about young kids who are used to mobile phones and smartphones, and they are so much faster in adopting technology than people of other age groups.
Yes.
So the point is, maybe after 5-10 years they would not even know. I mean, the younger kids or the newborns would not even know what a bank is, right? I mean,
Yes.
I don't remember when last I had visited a bank. I'm
True.
not sure about you, or,
No,
or when
that's
did I last sign a check, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm lucky that I started my career in financial
So you
services.
should talk more about it. Yes, so Sridhar comes from the financial services background, and he spent a large part of his career
Yeah.
in the financial services industry. So why do you think was this need to launch a program on fintech?
Okay. So let me start with this. Number one, technology is disruptive forces known to everyone,
Yes.
and that's getting go leaps and bounds at this point of time. Number two, financial services sector is the one which adopts it the maximum. I was part of 2, 3 major changes in my life. I started my career with Citibank, then went into a financial services business. It was the days where people were brokers going to the broking for go to the stock exchange floor and
Right.
start shouting at buying shares and selling shares like this.
Right.
Today, nobody even knows how it is being done.
Yeah.
Right? NSE came, the or digital online based trading came, things went off. Subsequently, I used to be in the transfer agency side of the business where the physical share certificate used to come for registering the transfer from one person to the other. And we used to get 30,000-40,000 transactions a day like that.
Yeah.
As one of the largest person in the transfer agency service. And today everything is it's automatically settled. So these disruptions have always been there in the financial services sector, right? I think the word fintech is probably something which has come around 4 or 5 years back, where they believe that not just finance and technology making financial services faster, better, cheaper, efficient, etc. It's going to the next level, right? I'm sure when we launch these programs, we have a 0% EMI scheme
Yeah.
where people come in and the loan gets approved in 3 seconds.
Yes.
Believe me, I started my career in the credit department of a bank. And I used to take the document used to come to me 1 week later, and I used to take 1 week to decide whether to give a loan or not, which gets done in 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds in today's context. So this disruptive change is what is now driving them. That's when the fintech and like a separate vertical in the industry, it came out around 7, 8 years back, became popular in 4 years. Last year, it was probably one of the biggest in terms of fresh venture money
Right.
for the business across all areas. So it started with payments, then it went to credit. Now they are talking about international money transfer being done. Now we also have wealth management happening. So what a bank could do, what a financial services could do, today an application.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's where the opportunity is. And when we really looked at how do we provide a program like this, IIM Calcutta very, very great partner to be working with because of their management experience, as well as more importantly,
Right.
their lab. I'm sure you have been to IIM Calcutta, you can talk about their FRTL. That's how the program came in, and we are happy to say that the first batch just got completed. 100 people went through the program. The next batch, I think, almost 20, 130 people joined the program. It's a pretty interesting thing. The good part is the industry is finding that this is how the things are. Be it startups or big banks, people from banks are joining, and they believe that for them to drive the fintech initiative, like the expertise required, there is no formal education market, and these programs are only useful for people who understand. That's
Right.
why it was started for the
Right. Thanks, Sridhar, for that. I think great insight into what TalentSprint is doing, and I think a lot of deep tech programs into the most disruptive technologies that you can think of. And I think this program on fintech came in at the right time and with the right partner, because IIM Calcutta is known for their the one of the first institutes in the country to have the finance lab, the FRTL, which I'll talk about a little later, because I have also got a chance to be a part of this program
yes.
from TalentSprint, and I have experienced that lab and the experts from IIM Calcutta delivering this program. Uh, so that's good. I think we can maybe look at who should join this program? Who do you think is the right kind of audience? I know we have already talked about, Sridhar's already mentioned that the first cohort, got over just last week with 100 participants, and the next cohort is starting in January, right, on 27th of Jan to be precise. We'll talk about the format there, but it's really interesting to know that just 20 seats are left and the cohort is almost full. So, with these 20 seats, who do you think we should now focus on?
Yeah, I think let me put it the other way. I will seriously look at what were the 130 people rather than who. See, because end of the day, a great learning happens by a combination of good faculty, good good peer group.
Right.
In I mean, as I think you could really see, people from banking were the number one, followed by consulting, technology, then management, right, and other financial services. This is the range of people who have joined from every top banks that you can think of, the financial institutions of the people. One interesting point, our average experience of people joining this
Wow.
means people at the senior level finding it more valuable for them. But yes, the range is pretty large. People from 3 years, 5 years, 7 years have joined. So this gives an opportunity for people to work in groups, create fintech startups in terms of concepts as part of the program, come out with very interesting insights. I think the projects that were done in the program was very, very exciting for in terms of the way people looked at and different age group, different experience, different domain coming together. Okay, so that's where the value of this program. IIM Calcutta faculty, great faculty definitely. The industry interaction, that's an important part. I mean, we have also really looked at getting a lot of industry and inputs into the program. This is what one of the key goals TalentSprint. We recently launched this program called the Deep Talk on CXOs, right? 4 episodes have been done. We had people from Chief Digital Officer of NPCI talking about how disruption is happening. Just to give a background, NPCI is probably one of the root cause for major disruptions in payment with their UPI facilities, right? Then we had people from the CEO of Yo, right? Then Your Payments Bank, at Sybil, right? People from Sybil. So it's a very, very well knit community where we have academic, industry, and more importantly, participants coming with them. Those have been fantastic. So really, this is what I feel is the value.
Sure. I think we can, I mean, there are some questions already on the screen there. While we pick those questions up, I mean, I would quickly like to talk about the format of the program, right?
Yeah.
The way the program has been designed is really interesting. It's a blended format where we know that it is meant for middle and senior management professionals from banking, financial services, technology, consulting, and IT sectors. Now, somebody who's already working, right, as a working professional, like you said, the average work experience here has been 14 years. For someone who's been working for such a long time in the industry, it's difficult to go for a full-time program. So the format is really interesting in the way where we have visits to the IIM Calcutta campus, once in the beginning and one towards the end, and then there are online sessions just sandwiched in between these two visits. So what it really does is, you start the program with an interaction on the campus, IIM Calcutta campus. It's a 3-day visit where you get to meet all the faculty, members of faculty, all the professors who are going to be a part of the program. A lot of industry interaction happens even during the campus visit, right? And of course, you get to network with all the fellow participants of your cohort, right? So that kind of sets the right context and the start of the program. And then there are online sessions over the weekends, right, where professors from IIM Calcutta deliver live lectures over weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. And anybody across the globe can join the live sessions. And these are highly interactive sessions. I mean, it's not just a one-way delivery. You can ask questions over voice. You can interact with your fellow participants during the live session and clarify your doubts. Interestingly, just to highlight, the first cohort had participants not just from India but 5 other countries like Bahrain, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, etc. So anywhere, any part of the world, you can just join these live classes and get connected to the cohort instantly. And then it again concludes with a visit to IIM Calcutta campus, which happened just last week for the first cohort, where you have your again interactions with participants. By the time you go for the second campus visit, you've already learned a lot about your cohort. You know who's working where, what is their skill set, and what kind of knowledge or things that you can draw upon from them for you to build your products, or to lay the fintech blueprint for your organization. So it again ends with the visit to the campus, and you have a lot of group work that happens during the second campus, primarily on the capstone project that all the participants are supposed to do. So I think a very interesting and the right format, very executive friendly, and you can just do it smoothly without having any sort of stress on your day-to-day work life. So that's about the format, and we can move on to some questions here. So we have a question from Karthik, who says, what are the takeaways of a student from this program, and what are the skills and knowledge a student develops at the end of this program?
Good. I think this is a question that you should take. You, as a participant also, you attended this program. Right. And I think you should take this and share your view, both as a participant and also the feedback that you got from other participants.
Yeah, so Karthik, I think in terms of the key takeaways, it definitely brings you the latest of what's happening in the fintech world, right? I mean, there are professors from IIM Calcutta who would be taking classes to talk about everything. I mean, if I have to just briefly tell you about the curriculum that is there, it starts with data analytics and data interpretation, because that's a very important part for somebody who's working in financial services. Then understanding banks and other financial institutions, right? Followed by financial markets and products. Then we have foundations of fintech. We have digital disruptions in fintech. We have risk management in fintech. Then there is data driven financial analytics as one of the modules, right? And we have digital payments as one of the modules. Then there's a module on blockchain, right? It covers all about the blockchain there, and crypto assets and tokens. So overall, there are 10 modules in the program, and it covers the complete breadth of the breadth and depth both of fintech as well as the financial blockchain, right? And all these are being delivered by experts from IIM Calcutta, and so that's definitely number one, the kind of expertise that you build, not just by interacting with the faculty, but also the kind of knowledge that you get to gain from your participants in the cohort, right? I mean, I have seen these live classes and never otherwise have been so interactive, right? I mean, while you are talking to the professor on one side, there are other participants who are bringing in their industry experience into what is being discussed there, right? And this is like all real time. So very useful that way, the academic knowledge that you gain, plus a lot of the kind of case studies that are given to you. I mean, there are many modules which are driven by case studies, latest of case studies in the fintech industry, and participants are supposed to form groups. There are groups which have been formed internally, and they're supposed to present on these cases. A lot of case work happens, and there's definitely a capstone project. So while these are things that you definitely gain in terms of knowledge and the kind of network that you build with your participants, in terms of tangible takeaways, I can say you definitely get a certificate of advanced certificate of completion from IIM Calcutta, and you also get to be a part of the you get the executive alumni status from IIM Calcutta, where again you can make benefit of the network which is already there of so many participants over across different executive education programs being done by IIM Calcutta there. So I think these are the major takeaways among many other things which I can highlight.
Yeah, I think if I have to just summarize into points, point number one is getting to know how fintech works and what are the basics so that future we are ready for the future.
Yeah.
Right. The second is the certification. Three is the alumni status. Fourth is networking that you can do both with IIM Calcutta faculty as well as the participants in the program. I mean, I think the profile is so beautiful. At the profile of people who joined both the batches, it's out.
Yeah, just to kind of highlight the profile for the first cohort itself, we had 100 participants from 80 different companies, right, across various domains, across various functional areas in their respective organizations. And what I mean, she has already highlighted the work experience part of it, but 89% of the participants had over 5 years of work experience. So you can imagine the amount of knowledge that you can draw just being around with these participants, and the kind of questions that get asked during the live classes or even during the campus visits are fabulous. I mean, you just get to learn a lot being.
Okay, so now that you're talking about learning, I have a very directed question. Tell me the 3 projects that were done by people,
Right.
which you are really, I mean, recently the project presentations happened,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
What were your top 3 projects done? I'm sure there are 15, 20 projects done.
Yeah, so overall there were 12 groups, so 12 projects were
12
done,
projects,
right? I think what we had observed as a group and as a cohort from this program is a lot of focus amongst the participants was on lending. I mean, many projects were done on lending, and you see so many apps today on P2P lending. And you were talking about deep talk. We had Satish Pillai recently for one of the deep talk, who's the MD and CEO of TransUnion Sibyl, right? A fabulous insight that I got to know that day is that there are 1 million loan applications that we get a day. Now imagine the the business that's there with the lending side of it, right? So I think many interesting projects on lending, right? And then there were interesting. In fact, my own project was also on lending, but it was niche that we focused on, uh, loans for education, right?
Okay.
How do you make education accessible to everybody in the country? I mean, you know that India is a huge population, and there's a lot of demand for advanced certification programs and for other vocational courses. But then at the same time, not everybody is from an affluent background that they can afford it. So how do you make it accessible? I think you were talking about the 0% EMI that we had. So it was in line with that. So lending, there were projects on payments, there were projects on SMEs. I think you can just think of it. 12 different projects, 12 very important.
And everybody got exposure to when they presented what they
Absolutely. So it's not just that, I mean, while the group is working internally, but when you present this to the entire class, a lot of interesting questions come up, and it really makes it very, very useful to be a part of the program.
Proceed to.
Yeah. The next question here is from Shushant Taneja. He says, we are saying FinTech revolution.
Before we proceed, I think there's somebody complaining about audio. Is it sorted out? Yeah. Okay.
So Shushant says, we are saying that there's a revolution in FinTech, but I doubt it's quick adoption. There are still regulatory challenges. Does this program touch upon the regulations or RegTech? Well, Sushant, so I think what is interesting from the question that you've asked is, yes, you are right when you say that the adoption is not as quick, right? And the best part is, I was just reading something this morning which says what we are seeing in FinTech is only the tip of the iceberg, which means there's a lot more to come, and there are a lot more opportunities ahead of you, right, which you can exploit.
And when you say this, I think you should add saying that there are 1 billion UPI transactions happening every month.
There are 1 billion, of course. So again, going back to the deep talk conversation, we had Arif Khan from NPCI, who was the first guest for the deep talk episode 1. And look at the way NPCI has grown, right? From 1 billion transactions a year, they've come to 1 billion transactions a month. It was October 2019 when they achieved this, and they're looking at doing 1 billion transactions a day in the near future. So right, I mean, adoption, I think in my view, it's happening. I mean, if you can look at 1 million applications a day, 1 billion transactions a month, it's clear that it's going to citizen scale, and a lot of innovation happening there. But with regards to RegTech, yes, there is a component on RegTech as a part of this program. And you also know, I mean, just to add one more point, a lot of sandboxing policies have been brought out by RBI. So the regulatory body also understands that if you don't allow the new startups, young startups, to try something different by relaxing the norms and the policies, it's not going to help achieve that citizen scale. In fact, one of the recent interviews by the ex-RBI governor on which is very popular on YouTube also talks about that. I mean, it highlights that fact that this sandbox policies that we have are really helping.
I also like to share one interesting, different way of looking at regulation, right? The fact that regulations are seriously looking at fintech shows that fintech is arrived.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's going to see, end of the day, what is small generally is left out and saying that, okay, when it gets big, we'll regulate it. The fact that it's coming to the regulatory ambit shows that it is reaching scale. That's first point. The second point is always financial services are the most regulated, probably very close to, right, to healthcare, and specifically in terms of finding and testing on the new medicines, etc., etc. It's as close to that. So this is where I think there is a need for a program like this, where you are able to balance the disruptive force of a technology on one side and the regulatory needs and compliance requirements on the other for the overall objective of the customer service. I think that's where we people need to really balance both, and a program like this will provide that exposure, that experience, which is wide across various areas. I mean, today you look at which are the fintech players. What does Google to do with finance? Google Pay is so popular. Amazon with this thing. So people, I mean, the fintech is going beyond banking and finance.
Right.
Right? It is going across the complete value chain. Right? You may tomorrow be a retail chain and need a fintech solution.
True.
Right? And hence, it's money involved, faith necessary. Always there is a need for regulation. It will happen. And a program like this will help us balance both and look at it more comprehensively than looking only from the technology side or only from the regulatory side for the overall benefit of the customer.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I think, guys, you can just keep posting the questions that you have if there are any. Okay, Praveen's got the next question. He says, for someone who's in the financial services for the past 16 years, how will this be helpful? And apart from technology, if you can talk about the solution that the courses can offer.
So maybe I'll start my point on this and then you can add since you attended the program. This program is not a technology program in its design. It's a management program which includes the disruptive force of the technology. One doesn't need to be a technology expert to join this program. If you are going to use technology to disrupt the way financial services are offered, this program is for you. And Praveen, I think I also, as I told you during the profile of the people who joined the program, 14 years is the average experience, and I'm sure people will be at your level in terms of the experience levels to be able to be part of the program. And these are the people who are going to make an impact in big financial organizations. Move from the online program, online services they offer to a comprehensive digital leap. Right. And these are the people who are really benefiting very well from this program. Well, you know some of them who will join the program, right?
Yeah, I think so. While average is 14 on one side, the highest we had was 36 years, right? And like we have understood, the design of the program is such that it is for middle and senior management professionals. It is for someone who wants to lay that blueprint for their organization, someone who's trying to adapt to this disruptive technology and ride on the wave and be ready for this new financial order, right? So it's not technology. I mean, like Shida said, it's not for someone who's or rather, you don't have to sit and kind of write an application for you to.
This is a business course.
For as a part of this program, right? It is for someone who wants to do or like I said, lay the blueprint of anything with regards to fintech, and you will find people who can do it for you. You have to understand how the technology is disrupting, and that's what the course brings on table for you. I mean, look at the modules, right? It's not while it starts from foundations of fintech, it talks about the disruptions in fintech. It talks about how do you manage risk in fintech. It talks about how do you kind of the whole of digital payments. It talks about blockchain, right? Again, there's a course on crypto assets and tokens, but you're not really doing a blockchain application there. You're understanding how this can help you in what you're doing today to
I think
take it forward.
while cryptocurrencies have had its impact in the name, brand in the market in terms of regulatory acceptance or otherwise, as a concept, right? I'm sure one of our my colleagues keep saying that it can be a corporate currency. Doesn't need to be a currency which is accepted for financial transactions, right? Like for example, loyalty point is a corporate currency.
Right.
Customer loyalty point is a corporate currency. How do we effectively use it? How do we make it this thing? See, business today is completely moving digital. And anything finance going digital, this probably will help people to make it efficient and better.
Right.
Good. Any other questions we have?
No, I think so Sridhar, I think my question, I have a question for you next, right? How has been the experience? I mean, I know the first cohort has gotten over and we had 100 participants, and the next cohort we are looking at what kind of a batch size, what kind of a cohort size, and how has been the experience so far with the kind of participation that we have seen?
So pretty interesting. First cohort, we said we will only do 100 people and look at it, and we had to stop with 100. And this time we looked at saying that can we do 150, 140 to 150 is the range that we are looking at. Currently more than 125, 130 enrollments have happened. The good part is the interest on the way the program is conducted and the feedback from the existing participants have been so encouraging that we are looking at enhancing it. See, end of the day, the effectiveness of the program depends on how people believe, feel, learn, and more importantly, use in their thing. I'm sure there have been cases where people have already started using the fintech learnings into their current work. Right. So that's something which is pretty encouraging for us. Right. End of the day, fintech is a new way of doing financial services business, and I don't know, we haven't talked about it. I think that's important to bring it here, saying that India is probably having the great opportunity to be the leading force in this across the globe. Right. In many areas, we are still already at number one, and we can definitely move to that across the whole range. So, when we really looked at this program, it is 3 different objectives, right? Objective 1, get the fintech startups, financial services industry, the technology and the consulting and the insurance kind of industry to get the expertise that is required to move to the next level. Second is encourage startups and ensure that they are able to disrupt the way the things are being done. And third is, I think, move towards making India a large powerhouse in the financial services sector, specifically in the fintech space. Right. So I think our objective is not too high. We want to just keep 100, 150 as the range of number of enrollments into the program per cohort. And once in 6 months, we have the cohort. So one cohort runs for 6 months, next cohort comes in. I think that's a good starting point and good place to be in, because end of the day, oversupply is also a challenge. Right.
And so it's also important to limit it to 150, because otherwise the focus will not be as much on all the participants or all the groups, because the number of professors we have are not going to multiply accordingly with the number of students that we get. Right?
Absolutely. And one of the important things we want to focus as TalentSprint in our programs is to give a complete contact section and not go completely online. Yes, online gives me flexibility. If I run this program online, I can do 500 people, 1,000 people, irrespective whether they are in India or abroad. We can do it. But the fact of the matter is the effectiveness is better when people work in groups, learn from peers, and more importantly, create projects, understand the different ways people think, and come out with something more interesting and valuable than what they would have done individually. So that's contact portion will naturally look at cohort sizes which are reasonable, and that's what we will run with. And this is not only for this program. All programs that we do are similar.
All right, so there's one question from Karthik on the deliverables of the capstone projects. I think I'll take this up, Karthik. So how it really starts is, the groups of participant groups are formed during the first visit itself, so that you can interact with your group participants before you depart from the IIM Calcutta campus for your online sessions, right? So you get to know what your strengths are as a group, right? And then, a month from then is the day when you have to submit your overall capstone that you want to work on, right? The approach and the kind of project that you want to work on as a part of this program. And you are free to choose any project. I mean, the fact that there are guys who are very senior in the cohort, right? And they already have a lot of problems that they have seen which can be solved, right? Which can be solved through the knowledge that they gain here. So either you can choose projects that you already know of, or IIM Calcutta and TalentSprint together will give you some options that you can pick up from. Once the initial submissions are done, you will be allotted a mentor from IIM Calcutta, right? One of the professors who's a part of the program would be mentoring you throughout the next few months to help you, work on this project as a group, right? And so there is a regular interaction that you can have with your mentors, and also you can interact with people from the industry if you think that's gonna be useful. And then the submission of the project happens during the second campus visit, where you of course have to make a presentation to the entire group and the program directors from IIM Calcutta and submit your document. So there are two deliverables basically. One is a document and a presentation that you make.
And the document covers what? What is the business proposition?
So the document,
what is the business plan?
Yeah, so document would cover, it starts with the kind of industry that you are chosen to work on, right? Then followed by the company that you are trying to focus on, and the problem that you're trying to solve, right? And it should talk about so basically you have to also highlight what knowledge that you have gained from the program has helped you solve the particular problem that you're focused on, right? And how do you want to achieve it? And then the same actually can be used further for development after the program is over. To
make it a business model later.
And the mentors and professors from IIM Calcutta are very, very open to doubts clarification or any sort of interaction that you want, not just during the campus visit, also during the online sessions and after the program is over, right? I'm sure all the participants of the cohort 1 have the option to write to the professors or have a chat with them as and when they find that they need some help or they need some guidance on the particular project that they're working on. I think that's a great benefit. That's one important takeaway of the program, that you build that contact which helps you in your career.
End of the day, it is the network that you build in addition to the knowledge that you build, which is going to help. I'm sure that's how the top institutions, alumni networks and other stuffs are so popular and are able to attract better people constantly.
Good. So guys, I think that's about it. We are done with all the questions that we had and all that we wanted to cover in the program. Anything else that you would like to add, Sridhar?
No, I think that's pretty good. I look forward to seeing all of you in the cohort. Right. And clearly, I think this is something which is extremely important in current context, looking at how the financial services I have seen change and the way it is expected to change. I'm sure people in this first cohort are going to drive the change in many companies, and I'm sure that the next cohort will also come out and make a bigger impact and create that momentum for taking Indian fintech and probably global fintech by storm.
Yeah, and I think it's also really exciting to see that when the first cohort was launched, it was May 23. I remember the date, the start of the program, and we had enrollments till the last week, of the program, because there was so much of excitement about it. But this time, the way it has been adopted, right? The second cohort, it's about 2 months away, right? January 27, so about 50 days from now. But you talk about almost a houseful and sold out cohort.
So that shows the feedback from the first part, and there is a word of mouth that's available there. And more importantly, the value that people have derived out of it and probably expect out of it going forward.
Right.
With good performance, expectations increase, and I'm sure IIM Calcutta and TalentSprint are ready for it.
Right. So thank you so much, Sridhar, and thank you all for joining us in this session here. If you have any more questions, please feel free to contact our team with regards to this program, and wish you the best for your career ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.